I think this is called Queen Sirikit Park. And yeah, where it's about 6 p.m. so it's much more comfortable at this hour. Last time I was here it was 3 p.m. and it was excruciating. But yeah, let me just flip this around. Well, howdy. You know, I haven't really officially introduced myself. I've made a couple of videos here and there, but I've never actually spoken about who I am, because a lot of the stuff that I post is, mostly for my friends. But I think from here on out, I'll speak about. I guess I'm introducing myself to the wider world, because today's subject matter is going to relate to a lot of people. Did I even turn this on? No, I didn't. Okay, there we go. A beautiful park, absolutely gorgeous. Queen Sirikit. Let's get that Dutch angle in here. And yeah, at this hour, 6:10, it is extremely comfortable in comparison to 3 p.m. Anyways, yes, the subject matter of today has to do with plans. Plans. Things never go the way you want them to happen out in Southeast Asia. Hold on. Look at that. God, it's funny. There is duplicity behind having a wide angle. Like, look at my face. Oh! There's duplicity behind having a wide angle lens. Because, wide angle lenses, you get so much, and yet you can only see so little. I should have brought my other camera, but, I didn't want to lug that around. Anyways, yes, the plans that you make will never, ever, maybe it will, but on average, what I'm talking about here is the plans that you make will not actually amount to what you think it will happen. What will happen? So what am I talking about? I'm going to give you 3 personal anecdotes, because, man, I am slightly disappointed. But it's not that they didn't happen or that they won't happen. It's that they're not going to happen the way that I want them to. So I'm just waiting for this person to finish their photography. Yeah. So the first anecdote I want to talk about is my education visa. Of course, my presumption here is that I'm going to be speaking to a lot of nomads or potential expats. The most difficult part about being a expat or nomad, actually, doesn't have to do with, or it doesn't even have to do with money or, women, but it's actually the visas. Because you have to really abide by certain rules, and you have to be on the correct visa to ensure that, you're staying in the Kingdom of Thailand in a way that is not conducive to you getting kicked out of the country. Okay, that's the long and short of it. So personally, what happened to me? Okay, I'll just run through the story. I don't want to drag this on and on. So what happened to me was I came in with the 60-day 60-day tourist non-visa exemption. And I knew that at some point I wanted to apply for the school as soon as possible, apply for education visa, because I want to be here on the right visa, doing the right thing for the right visa. So I want to learn Thai, so I'm going to stay here and learn Thai. And I've just got a wall behind me. I'm just going to set this up right here. Yeah, so I'm here currently on a tourist visa. Then what's going to happen is, I went to the school 2 days ago to apply for the school. And what happened was, the lady explained it to me. She's like, okay, it takes approximately 50 days to process to get the visa, okay? From the very beginning to the end, it takes 50 days, which means me being here in Thailand, I don't have 50 days. on just a 60-day visa exemption. What I have to do is actually go to the immigration office, which is like north, next to like Don Mueang Airport. I have to apply for the visa exemption extension. Okay, so that means I have to go all the way to immigration, you know, go not just once, but I'll explain in a minute. So I have to go there and extend my visa. And then what happens is I'm also going to be changing where I'm going to live. That means I have to change my TM30 and give that information to the school so that they can process that. And then when they have all that information, everything's been approved, then I go back to the school, and then I have to get a new not a new visa, excuse me. I have to get new documents that affirms what I was looking for to apply to the education visa. And then later on down the road, again, I have to go to the immigration office once again in order to confirm my education visa. Okay, so that takes approximately 50 days in total. And so, you know, I didn't think that it would be this much of a nuisance to apply. And, you know, this is only just for the education visa. But nevertheless, I mean, this can apply to so many other things. You know, I've heard so many stories of, for example, in the Philippines, you're trying to get anything done in the Philippines. It takes forever. And so, you know, and this is true of all of Southeast Asia, I think, at least. but you know, my point here is that whatever you're planning, the stark reality is that you need extra time. Even when you try to get things done early, you need extra time and also extra money. In other words, you need a lot of extra leeway in order to make sure you can actually accomplish the goal. Sorry, I'm just trying not to get people who don't want to be in my video. You need extra time and money just to ensure that you accomplish the goal that you're setting out for, okay? So that's just one personal anecdote. By the way, I'm talking about all this stuff, not just, I'm not sure if I mentioned it already. I have ADHD, so I forget everything that I talk about. I guess the reason why I'm doing these videos is because I'm vlogging for myself. I'm categorizing, I'm cataloging my personal experience. I love these fountains. They're beautiful. But you know, if you got that water in your face, I don't know if it's comfortable, or I don't think it's clean. The second thing that I thought would pan out, okay, was that, well, there was this girl that I wanted to meet. It's my friend's friend, okay? And on paper, I don't want to give too much away here because it is a little bit of a private subject, but long story short, she checked every box, okay? She was, she has a good job. She comes from a good family. Maybe she's not rich, whatever. To me, that doesn't really matter, but she has a good job, so she does make her own income, a decent amount of income. She comes from a good family. She has a healthy relationship with her father. And not only that, she's a fairly ethical and moral person. Probably, maybe a little bit too much. I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, long story short, we went out on 2 dates. And at the end of it, she's, again, I don't want to divulge into too much of the information, but at the end of it, we stopped seeing each other. And I was extremely disappointed because, as I just said, she checked every box that I wanted. And I checked a lot of boxes for her too. We had really good chemistry and so many positive qualities. And when we were together in those 2 dates that we went on, you know, it was very, very good. But in the end, she's like, oh, sorry, I just can't. I don't want to. I just can't, right? And there is a reason, but again, I don't want to divulge too much. And so that disappointed me greatly because, you know, that in my head, I was thinking like 10, 15, 20 years down the road as to how I'm going to like set up my whole life. And yeah, that did not amount to what I thought would happen. So now I'm kind of in this place where I'm like, wow, now I have to find someone else, right? Not that that's a problem in so much that I can't find someone. It's that it's hard to find someone who checks every box that you want. So, yeah, so that's that's something that now I'm kind of like scrambling in my mind. But again, I'll find somebody. That's not a problem. It's just now there's just delays. The third thing that I want to talk about actually, it's related to the visa, because now that I'm applying for education visa, I cannot leave the country because it's based off of the 50 days of processing time from the beginning to the end of processing that education visa. That means I cannot leave the country because that education visa is specifically for that specific stamp of which I entered the country, which is the 60-day non-visa exemption. So in other words, my plan, which was originally to go to Vietnam in between, is not going to happen, which means I can't see my friends in Vietnam, and I can't use the Vietnamese that I was learning. I've been learning Vietnamese since October, right? And I'm not Vietnamese, right? So, and so I was kind of disappointed and a little bit saddened at the fact that I couldn't use my Vietnamese and go to Vietnam. And so now I'm locked in this country until I think 6 months after I think the estimation is, again, I don't know, I'll have to double check. But I think my estimation is until the end of November, because the program is 6 months straight. That means my plans for travel are kind of on hold. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm planning only to learn and maybe travel internally in the kingdom, which is allowed, right? As long as I don't leave the kingdom of Thailand. These are three small anecdotes, I guess maybe small for you, but yeah, but these are three things that that kind of highlight me personally as to what's happening in my life and what's in this fog of, I don't want to say fog of war, it's not war, but it's like, this area of obfuscation whereby I don't know what's going to happen. I haven't even been approved for the education visa. So, I mean, I don't even, like I'm banking on the fact that I might get approved. Of course, I think there's a high chance that I'm going to be approved. A lot of people are approved, but the fact that you don't know with certainty causes a lot of anxiety, right? And so this is, I guess, what I'm trying to expound upon here is that expect the unexpected, give yourself some leeway, have a rough and flexible plan, and make sure you have enough time and money, no less, to accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish. Here's the funny thing, even if you try to get it done early, and mind you, just going back to the first anecdote regarding the education visa, yeah, I could have done it within the 60 days I was here. But you know what happened? Every time I've come to this country, I shouldn't say every time, because I've only been here 3 times. Last year when I came here, the first week that I was here, I got sick. Literally, I was here in this same park at Chatuchak Park. I remember exactly where I fell deeply ill. And same thing this year when I came. I was ill on the second week. So I literally did not have the ability. I was quite literally disabled from being able to, I had the flu. I was still able to do some small things, but I couldn't go out for fear of just, appearing as a very, very ill person in public, right? So, yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. And most importantly, you don't know what you don't know. I might have talked a lot about, like, you can only go so far with researching and trying to understand the whole system. For me, like, okay, I'll admit, I had hubris, I had ignorance, and as well I was sick, right? So I couldn't accomplish the goals that I wanted to, right? And so there's a lot of uncertainty here, and I suppose this is all to say that be flexible, I guess. So anyways, I've said the same thing over and over for, what is this, like 20 minutes now? Anyways, thank you for watching. Again, my name is Douglas. You can also call me Bong. A lot of people out here in Southeast Asia are not able to say Douglas. That's a very hard name to say in Asia. So I just tell people, call me Bong. That's my Cantonese name, Bong. Yeah, and I'm sure you'll see more of me, and I'll speak more about just the things that are happening in my life as I continue to catalog